Well, I just wrapped up my lawn care season. I'm pretty excited about that. And in this video, I want to take you through a year in review. And I'm mostly doing this, well, it's for you, but it's also for me too. Thinking back through what I did this year, things that I changed from last year, and how well the year went for me. So overall, been a great year. I want to go through the details and some of the different things I did this year and what worked. So let's get started with that right now. All right, so one of the first big changes that happened right off the bat this year was a price increase, and probably, honestly, the most significant price increase I've ever done. Now, I understand that a lot of people went up on prices a lot more than I did. For the most part, this varied a little bit, but my price increase at the beginning of this year was somewhere in the neighborhood of 7%. Now, some were a little bit more, some a little bit less, depending on the circumstances, but in general, around a 7% price increase. Well, for me, that was mostly based off of the cost of my material. So I'm a solo operator doing weed control and fertilization. The price of our fertilizer has went up significantly. So from about a year ago, when I ordered my fertilizer till now, it's up about 25%. And from about 18 months ago, it's up over 40% for the fertilizer. Now, that doesn't mean you have to raise your prices 40%, okay? Because the fertilizer is just a percentage of your overall revenue. So you don't have to raise it 40% because your cost of your goods went up 40%. And the fertilizer might have went up that much over the past 18 months or so, but it doesn't mean all the chemicals and all that went up. Some went up a lot, like Roundup basically tripled over the past couple of years. Others haven't changed that much. So, but as far as the price increase goes, I think the thing that is difficult about those is, one, just communicating it is a little bit of a pain. So what I did, I used a prepaid letter that I left on people's door at the last treatment of the previous year. So on that last treatment, I leave a plastic bag on their door with a self-addressed envelope. It also has the prepay letter. It gives an option to prepay for 5% off if they want to prepay for the year, or they can put a card on file or whatever. And on there, it listed off their new price. So that's how I communicated that. All right, to me, the best thing about going up on prices is, one, the main reason is it's to bring your cost, to bring your pricing up to where you need it to be for the cost to keep your profits up, okay? So it's not, really, that's the fundamental reason to do it. I need to charge more because my costs have gone up. But another thing it does is, if you had a customer that was not really satisfied or been complaining a lot or whatever, this is a chance for them to leave, okay? You know, sometimes it might not hurt just to go up on somebody $1, because if they were wanting to leave, it's like, here's your chance, $1 increase, you can leave. Now, they can leave anytime they want, as far as I'm concerned. I don't have a contract on them, but when you go up on a price, you'll get a few cancellations sometimes. So, but the other thing is, typically the number of cancellations you get is relatively small. Like, I had maybe a little over 300 customers I've downsized, and I mean, I don't know if I lost 5 or something. I don't know. It was a minuscule amount, and I'm not saying that those 5 might not have canceled anyway, you know. So it's really oftentimes the extra revenue that you go up on your price increase. Again, mostly you're covering the cost of goods increase, but oftentimes you end up making more money with doing less work. Because now let's say I lost 5 customers, I got 5 less yards to do, but my revenue is actually higher. Now, again, you're offsetting the increased expenses as well. So overall, the price increase went well for me. And going to this next year, I am increasing some of them a little bit as well, because the chemicals continue to go up. Fertilizer continues to go up. Now, personally, I'm not one that raises prices every year. And some of them that I emailed out this year that I was going to raise prices on most customers. But some of them, as I evaluate them and I look at what I'm charging per the size of the lawn and what neighborhood they're in, I think, you know what? I'm actually really good with that price. I'm not just going to go up $2 or $3 just to say I did. I feel very good at where that price is. Now, others I needed to bump up. The idea for me is, if I picked up a customer in that particular neighborhood in that exact size lawn, what would I want to charge them today if it was a brand new customer? And if I look at them, they're already right there, then I'm good with that, because that's what I would charge a new customer today. If they're several dollars below that, then I want to bump them up to get them to where they should be if I picked up a new customer today. So that's kind of my thought. I did come up with these pricing chart basically for weed control and fertilization. If you need help with that, it's basically my pricing chart. I've got two of them. One of them's adjustable, but I'll put a link to that in the description. It's 39 bucks and people have been buying that. I think it's a very helpful resource. The other thing I did this year, the second thing, is I came up with a new schedule for my lawn care apps, and part of that was due to I use a product called Spectacle Flow in the fall. It's great for controlling poannual and cool season weeds. Well, I started using that in May this past year as well for the first time. That's an expensive product, but when I did that, targeting a particular weed called doveweed that we have in our area. I'm in the Birmingham, Alabama market, but May is also a time when we want to fertilize our yards. So because I'm putting out Spectacle in May, I basically had to rearrange my fertilizer schedule. So here's what I did. I put out a pre and post emerge application round 1. So that's like January, February time frame. Then I went to March and did a slow release fertilizer. Then in May, I went with the Spectacle Flow. I might have started actually last week of April or so. Then come back later, do more slow release fertilizer. Round 4, round 5 was out there hitting the nutsedge and all these warm season weeds, and that was where I'll get that in a minute, but round 6 was my fall pre and post emergent. Round 7 we do lime. I do 7 applications on Bermuda zoysia, 6 on centipede and St. Augustine. That new schedule was a little different for me because usually I'm really busy the first half of the year. You know, I've got 4 applications the first half of the year, 3 the second half of the year. Well, because I did it this way, I actually had to space out some of my early season treatments. So like round 1, I basically had all of January and February to get that down, the pre and post emergent. So I had plenty of time for that. Which the good thing about that is if it's 25 degrees out there, you don't have to worry about getting out there doing anything. It's like, I'll just wait till tomorrow. And that's also a little bit of a luxury being self-employed. And then you go and do the fertilizer round 2, then round 3, the Spectacle. So it's really like I switched the schedule. My second half of the year ended up being a little bit busier than my first half where I had done it previously. But anyway, really happy with the results. And that's my third point here is better weed control. I feel like using Spectacle Flow in May, while it helped to some degree on the doveweed, it wasn't a permanent solution. I've got a few yards that eat up with doveweed and they still had a problem, but it probably did improve it some. I'm hoping year after year it gets a little better. But the difference it made on the other weeds, to me, was what made the huge difference. And I just did this on my Bermuda and zoysia lawns. I didn't do it on centipede and St. Augustine. But in particular, the Kalinga, it made a huge difference on Kalinga. It made a difference on the chamber bitter. It made a difference on spurs, things like that, that usually you're going to see a lot of these weeds. And what happened was when I was going out in the summer out there spot treating weeds with Celsius and Certainty, I found that I had a lot less weeds to spot treat. So it saved me a lot of time, honestly, by not having to walk around backpacking all these yards in the summer spot treating weeds, because there just wasn't near as many weeds. Like the Kalinga, I would still see Kalinga in yards I knew were just covered in it the year before. And I will say the weather has a lot to do with it. The year before we had tons of rain. This year we had not as much rain. But I would see the Kalinga, but it would just be kind of suppressed. It wouldn't be growing as much. So I was very happy with the results I got on that. Definitely plan to do that again next year. That brings up the fourth point I wanted to mention, and it's this idea is, all right, when I spray Spectacle in May, that it's like $1,900 a gallon. It's outrageous. Well, I mean, it goes a long way. So if you think about cost per 1,000 square feet, it's not, you know, crazy, but it's still an expensive product. But I basically put more money into my program. Okay, not only do I doing that, I also, because I'm using that in May, in March when I'm fertilizing, I'm putting out a slow release fertilizer that's actually more expensive than the fertilizer I'd used the previous year. Again, doing these things to try to work my schedule around putting out Spectacle in May. Well, you think about that, and I'm spending more money, a little bit more on fertilizer, spending more on the weed control. Does that cost me money? Well, yeah, it does cost me money. But like I said before, it actually turned out where I did way less spot treating weeds during the summer months. So it probably didn't cost me as much more as I might have originally thought it would, because you think about the time it saved me, not having to walk around the yards all the time. You have employees, that obviously makes a huge difference, but also basically just not going through near as much Celsius uncertainty, which is kind of what I like to use in the summer spot treating. Put those two together. I didn't go through near as many bottles because I wasn't having to spray as many weeds. And so I think that, did it cost me more? Yeah, probably, but it's hard to quantify it exactly. I have to keep better records as far as how many bottles I went through and all that. But just in general, a lot less weeds, a lot less time involved, and a lot less chemical involved on that. So the money I saved using less Celsius uncertainty helped offset the added cost of using Spectacle a second time. Fifth thing I want to mention I did a little bit different this year was I did try to incorporate a ride-on spreader sprayer more. So you guys know I use a Graham spray rig on the back of my truck. Now I do most of my blanket apps with that. I got a lot of small yards, and I'm blanking the yards in January, February at round one, pre and post emergent, and then come back in the fall and doing it again. Well, I thought with the Spectacle, I'm using, I end up mixing a little bit of change up in there with it, metsulfuron, to help with some of the weeds I was seeing during that Spectacle app in May. And I ended up riding a lot of those with a ride-on spreader sprayer. And this next year, I'm planning to get a Z spray, so I'm planning on riding even more. I've heard somebody tell me that before, about just the idea of mechanizing your business, using equipment more instead of your own body, your legs and all that. If you can figure out how to use equipment more to save you manpower, I think the mowing business is going this way a little bit, obviously, with the robotic mowers and all that. It's not necessarily horrible, but you got to figure out how to use it to your advantage. And so if I can use a ride-on machine, that saves me wear and tear on my body and just makes my job more enjoyable and also makes me more efficient, then that's helpful. So I was able to do that a little bit more, and something I'm looking to do more in the future. The sixth thing I wanted to mention, and you hear me talk about it here all the time if you watch me regular, but I talk about route density. And a few years ago I sold off some of my customers. When I did that, it allowed me to really tighten up my route. And so one of the things I did this year is I'm not really doing much marketing other than just have my website rank well on Google, which is doing great. I am just started working with a new website company, an SEO company. I'm not far enough along the process to be able to recommend them out here yet, but hopefully I'll be able to recommend them. But it's basically like $200 a month instead of paying like thousands to get a website up front and paying SEO costs along the way. This, you just pay $200 a month, I believe is what it is, and they take care of all that, the website design, the SEO. Again, that's by far my biggest way to get customers. Now, the second best way is through referrals of existing customers, and referrals from all these people mowing grass. They send me weed control and fertilization referrals. But what I did this year, even with that, I'm just being very selective on who I take on as a customer. So I have this really tight route. It's super profitable. It allows me to leave home at 8 o'clock, 8:15, get back home at 4 o'clock, 3:30 sometimes, and having a really productive day, knocking out 20 to 25 yards in that span of time. If I need to come home to do something with my family, I'm able to do that. I'm often able to stop by my house and eat lunch at home. I've got 4 kids, so I'm able to be involved more at the house, which is great, and it's a priority for me. And so I don't want to mess that up by taking on some yard that's just random yard out here in the middle of nowhere. I'm being very selective, and if they're already in an area I'm established in, great. I definitely want that yard, because that's, again, just feeding my profitability, feeding my efficiency, feeding my route density. And so I guess you'd say I was more selective, and that's okay, because I know in these certain neighborhoods where I'm already established, then I can be very competitive on price and still be extremely profitable. And anyway, it's just a luxury, and I'm going to continue to do that next year, because I'm not trying to grow rapidly. I'm just trying to continue to refine my business, become where can I tweak it here and tweak it there to become more profitable, more efficient, and also support the lifestyle of being home and being with my family some too, and not just working all the time. And the seventh thing I wanted to mention is on the YouTube side. Some of you guys have been following me for a long time. I've been on YouTube for 11 or 12 years. I don't even, I've been on here a long time. And some of my videos were horrible in the past, and some of them are still horrible. Well, I experiment with a few things this year on YouTube, including I tried a second channel doing these lawn transformations. That didn't work so good for me, but I actually ended up having my best year ever on YouTube. I hit 100,000 subscribers this year on YouTube. I'm up to like 118 or so at the time of this video. And I really appreciate all the support that you guys have given me. And I tell you, YouTube is a little bit tricky in this. One, I want to provide quality content that actually helps people, but on YouTube, sometimes the stupid content gets a lot of views. And I'm not using that word accidentally. I mean, really just ridiculous stuff, but it'll get millions of views. Well, I try to balance that because, this video here probably won't get that many views, but I think it might be helpful to some people. So, you got to balance, like, is that video going to get a lot of views, or is it just a bunch of information but not many people are going to watch it? So there's always a balance there, and I'm trying to make better quality videos. Some of them are more for getting views, some of them are more for real information to try to be successful on YouTube. I'm continuing to develop more courses and want to really, this next year, really start pushing more courses and developing new courses I think are helpful and I think are give me a good opportunity on YouTube. The sponsorships I've had have been great, particularly Graham Spray Equipment and Yard Book are just two monthly sponsors for my channel that help support what I do on here, and both companies that I used before they became sponsors, so I'm happily recommend both of those companies. But overall, YouTube is going great, and I'm really excited about next year because I feel like the tricky part on YouTube, I've got over 1,000 videos or something. It's hard to like, well, what else can I do for a video? Well, I actually feel really good about my content strategy going into next year. I have an idea of some things that I haven't done exactly in the past. Some of it you're always recreating past videos, but I just feel really strong moving forward. So I'm hoping 2023 is actually going to be blow 2022 out of the water, even though 2022 was my best year ever on YouTube. And again, thank you for the support on the channel, and always open to feedback of what you guys think about the videos and how I can help. Now, hopefully some of these videos will help you in your local business, which is ultimately, I think, my #1 priority on YouTube is how to help other people that are in the lawn care business like me. Appreciate you watching. Leave me a comment. Hope you guys enjoy your, I'm actually filming this on Thanksgiving Day, so enjoy your Thanksgiving, Christmas coming up, New Year's, and I'm looking forward to dominating next year. Also, one last thing, if you hadn't signed up, I am hosting a live event on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday from the time this is published, November 29th, near Birmingham, Alabama. It's called the Weed Control Workshop, and I'll put the link in the description. If you bought the Weed Control and Fertilization Academy off lawncarelife.com, then this live training event is free. It's a small group coming. I've got 4 people doing the training, including myself. We got ride-on equipment to ride. We're going to be out there spraying, riding, calibrating. It's a hands-on experience for a small group of people, so I'm pretty excited about that. But the link is in the description. Like I said, if you bought the Weed Control and Fertilization Academy, you can come to this for free. If you didn't, you can buy a ticket to this. We'll have breakfast, lunch. We're going to get started about 9 o'clock Central Time, be done about 4 o'clock is the plan, and really excited about that. So we will see you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot.